Hello and welcome to Ask Amanda Now. This is our Friday afternoon session where I can answer one Strata question for you. We're going out live to the Your Strata Property Facebook page. We're heading out to LinkedIn. We're going out to YouTube. Where are you? What are you doing this Friday afternoon? I am sitting out here on my back deck, which will be the first time many of you, most of you, all of you will be seeing this. This is something that has been a work in progress for a little while here at my home. You've probably heard the banging and the hammering and the construction process in my podcasts and in a few of my lives. So you've been part of it. But we're just about finished. Got some furniture out here now. This is Louis sitting here in this chair. That's Louis's backside, I should say. So one of my dogs, Louis, I was hoping he might face the other way so we could see his beautiful face. No, he might jump up and move around for us later. And Barnaby's here too, running around. So being outside, being live, we are subject to the vicissitudes of live video. Who knows what's going to happen here? We will do our best. But we're here to share some Strata knowledge, to answer a Strata question. Now, as always, when I put the call out on a Friday afternoon, if we're doing an Ask Amanda Now and I'm only covering off one Strata question, I get lots of questions, whether it's here on the page or in my inbox, always more than we can cover in one short session. But I want to acknowledge two inquiries, two questions they really were. We're going to go deep on one question, and one additional question I do just want to acknowledge because it's an important one that many of you, particularly in New South Wales, may be thinking about. And that was a question that popped into my inbox from Stephen. Stephen was asking, what's going on with the review of New South Wales Strata law? Are we getting an amended act? We've been talking about it for, I think, a couple of years now that these amendments are on the way. We've had a discussion paper. What's happening? Yes, we've had a change of government that may be holding things up. Short answer, Stephen, is I don't know exactly what's happening. The word on the street is that we should be seeing these amendments this year, amendments to our Strata Schemes Management Act in New South Wales. I want us also to remember, let's not forget that our new Labor government did promise us leading up to the election that we would have a Strata Commissioner. I don't know, is that happening? Is that maybe what's going on in the background and that's what's holding up this review? Will we be getting a Strata Commissioner? I don't know, but my fingers are crossed. Let's say that. My fingers are crossed. It was an election promise. So watch this space. I will be the first to be letting you know when we have new legislation to have a look at, to have a chat about in New South Wales. It's definitely overdue. And I, for one, am expecting it this year. So let's see what happens. But that is not our question, our one question that we're going to deep dive into here this afternoon. This afternoon's question that has been chosen for an answer here on Ask Amanda Now actually comes from Frank. And Mina is helping me out here today, and she has Frank's question ready to share here with us. The question from Frank here on your screen. Oh, okay. I think I've got a bit of a typo there. Absolutely my fault. I did check this earlier and didn't see that. What types of motions should a chairperson declare out of order? This is a summary of Frank's question. There's a little bit more detail in the email that came to me. What types of motions should a chairperson declare out of order? Mina, you might want to pull that one back and make that amendment for me. Very good question, and one that I receive often. One that this power in our legislation to rule a motion out of order is one that I rely on as a Strata manager often when I am acting for people who may be in the position of chair, when I might be giving some advice to Strata managers, when I might be giving some advice to owners who are wanting to make a point at a general meeting. It's a really important aspect of our chair's role that I think it is good for everybody to be across. So thank you, Frank, for asking this question and giving us the opportunity to have a closer look at this. What types of motions should a chairperson declare out of order? Thank you, Mina, for that fix. I'm going to share with you the precise part of our New South Wales legislation where this comes up. And it does say in our Act, Strata Schemes Management Act 2015 what it is that a chairperson can rule out of order. I am going to share this with you right now. The relevant part in our legislation is Schedule 1. As I've said before, this is a really important part of our Act to be across. As it tells us here, this is where the meeting procedures for owners corporations are set out. Schedule 1, procedures for general meetings. Schedule 2, we have our procedures for strata committee meetings. And if I scroll right on down to clause 19, trying not to make you seasick in the process, this is where we are told that a chairperson may rule certain motions out of order. The chairperson at a meeting may rule a motion out of order, and that's a general meeting, by the way. The chairperson at a meeting may rule a motion out of order if the chairperson considers that the motion, if carried, would conflict with this Act or the bylaws of the strata scheme, or would otherwise be unlawful or unenforceable, or any requirement of this Act to include the form of the motion in the notice of meeting has not been complied with. So the motion, if I quickly deal with Part B first, because I think that's the most straightforward, if the motion has not been properly requisitioned by an owner, maybe it didn't have an explanatory note, maybe the explanatory note was more than 300 words. I've seen chairs rule motions out of order on that basis. If someone tries to put a motion from the floor, and we're told in our legislation that we need to have notice of motions. Motions need to go on the agenda. Then it's open to the chair to rule those kinds of motions out of order because the form of the motion has not complied with the requirements of the Act. I think that's pretty straightforward, and that's not the situation that I see chairs having to grapple with when they're being asked to, or when they're thinking about ruling a motion out of order. More likely that they're looking at whether a motion, if it was carried, would conflict with the Act or the bylaws, or would otherwise be unlawful or unenforceable. So in some situations, that might be quite clear that a motion, if passed, is going to conflict with the Act. Maybe the motion is attempting to get around some aspect of the Act. I have an example that came up a couple of weeks ago at a general meeting I was attending, where there was a motion on the agenda to prevent owners from ever seeking approval to do structural work. So renovations that would involve structural work. One member of the committee had decided that the committee just never wanted to consider, never wanted to approve, never thought that structural renovations, the removal of load-bearing walls, for example, should ever be approved in this building. So this person had proposed a motion that those applications be refused at all times and never be considered, and that owners should not be putting them forward. Now, I had read that motion. My client actually was at the same meeting seeking approval for a major renovation that would involve structural alterations, and was really concerned about this motion and said, but if they pass that motion, then my bylaw for my major renovations can't be considered. And I looked at that agenda item and I said, well, that motion is out of order. If it was passed, it would conflict with the Act, because the Act has a regime within it to approve renovations that involve structural alterations. And that regime is to propose a motion for special resolution at a general meeting and to propose a bylaw that shifts responsibility from the owners corporation over to the lot owner for that renovation. So there's a regime in there to protect the owners corporation for that kind of work, and it is not open to an owners corporation to get around or attempt to get around that regime by putting its own motion forward, preventing or banning owners from taking those steps. So that's kind of, in my view, a straightforward situation where you would see that a motion was out of order. Sometimes I'm asked whether bylaws that are being put forward, if they are harsh, unconscionable or oppressive, or may be considered to be harsh, unconscionable or oppressive, is that the kind of motion that, if passed, would place the owners corporation in breach of the Act, and therefore that bylaw should not go forward? It's a good question, and it is quite possible that, yes, that kind of motion may be out of order, because if that bylaw was to be made, it may be invalid if it's harsh, unconscionable or oppressive, and therefore it is a breach of the Act to make that bylaw. So a chair may decide to rule a motion like that out of order. The additional info that I had from Frank in the email when he was asking me this question. We might get the question back up on the screen, Mina. When he was asking me this question in his email, he did give me some background that indeed it was a bylaw. It was a bylaw that was proposing to regulate the keeping of animals. And in Frank's view, that bylaw had some wording in it that meant that it did not comply with the pretty strict now requirements in our New South Wales legislation for what a keeping of animals bylaw may do. We cannot unreasonably prohibit the keeping of animals in our residential strata schemes in New South Wales. Frank thought that the bylaw that was being put forward breached that requirement and was, I believe, urging the chair to rule the motion to make that bylaw out of order. So I do think, Frank, that there are, I don't know exactly what your bylaw said or what the motion said, but I do think those are the kinds of situations where chairs can be ruling motions out of order. A few of you coming on in to say hello here on our Ask Amanda Now session. If you've come on in and you're thinking, she's outside, where is she? There's noise in the background. I've got a 10-year-old boy kicking a soccer ball over here. I've got a couple of dogs around. He's giving me a grin now. And I have a backside. I have a Labradoodle backside here. It was a head earlier and it was very cute, but we've missed out on that. I'm on my back deck, on my new back deck, enjoying it in what is still some lovely weather during the day, freezing here in the morning. I think we had frost this morning, but we're definitely getting into the winter, the country winters for sure. I think you might get a show coming into the background here. It's called the Callum Train. It's coming. Hello to Megan Chatterton, who is coming on in saying, Strata Commissioner, say it isn't so. I don't know. I don't know, Megan. I know it was an election promise. A number of people are asking me about it. Is it the reason why the review of our legislation is overdue, as Stephen was asking earlier today? I don't know. I guess we wait and see. Megan is in dreary Launceston. Dreary Launceston. Sorry to hear that, Megan. I hope it cheers up for you, but thank you for joining us. Bill and Ben is saying, I notice it is a may power. So look, let's go back to this question about ruling motions out of order, and I will just share that section of Schedule 1 in our Act with you again to just point out what Bill and Ben is drawing our attention to. The chairperson at a meeting may rule a motion out of order if it meets either of those criteria that you can see on the screen there. So you're absolutely right, Bill and Ben. It is not mandatory for the chair to rule a motion out of order. The chair can decide whether or not that motion should be ruled out of order, and that's the may. So even if the chair thinks that the motion would conflict with the Act or the bylaws or otherwise be unlawful, they don't have to rule that motion out of order. So that's good to know. Just on this point about being otherwise unlawful or unenforceable, so a motion that would breach the law generally, a motion that would be discriminatory, for example, something that someone was proposing be done or not done within the building that would discriminate on the grounds of gender or race, indeed that kind of a motion could be ruled out of order by the chair. Jeff is coming in saying, hey, Peter's saying, what's happened to Amanda? I think I'm here. I think I'm here. Did I disappear, Peter? I'm here. Barnaby's here. Louis here. Louis' backside is here. Lisa's saying, great new deck by Brad. Lisa is in the know. I'm bringing... Brad is my builder. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa is in the know. Tell you what, you'll have to come. This is your chair. Come and join me. Kareem is saying, hi, Amanda. It's always great to be learning from you again. Great to have you here to share with Kareem. Peter's got me back. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Candice is here saying hi from Northern New South Wales. All right. Lovely to see you, Candice. I am only supposed to be here for 15 minutes. Oh, we're doing well. It's 4:14. Excellent where I am. Anyway, we have done well. We have covered off Frank's question. I have also shared my views on Stephen's question about when I think we might see our reviews to the Strata Scheme legislation. You have all come on in and said hello. If you're catching the replay, I would love for you to drop me a hello here as well. That's all I have for you this afternoon. Next Friday, I believe I will be here. I believe I'll be here next Friday. We will do a longer Friday Live next Friday afternoon, getting stuck into what's happened with our week in Strata. There's always lots to report and lots to chat about. I hope to see you here live then. Barnaby is ready, settled in for his Friday night here on the deck. Louis has decided that he's camera shy today. We might catch up with them next time. wish you all a lovely weekend, whatever it is that you're up to. And I will catch you all next time. Bye for now.